see you, but I can feel you all the time in my head. The room is quiet, I don't stop trying to see your eyes, and you'll fall asleep in the candlelight and awake in the night. I feel your heart beat in mine, and I see your eyes flicker in the light. As I stare at the sky, I know you're mine. All the time, to see your eyes, and you'll fall asleep in the candlelight. I feel your heart beat in mine, and I feel your heart beat in mine. I feel your heart beat in mine, and I see your eyes flicker in the light. I feel your heart beat in mine. I feel your heart. I feel your heart beat in mine. See your eyes. See your eyes flicker in the light. No, I can't see you, but I can feel you all the time in my head. The room is quiet, I don't stop trying to see your eyes. All the time, to see your eyes. You'll fall asleep in the candlelight and awake in the night. I feel your heart beat in mine, and I see your eyes flicker in the light. As I stare at the sky, I know you're mine. I see your eyes flicker in the light. As I stare at the sky, I know you're mine. I feel your heart beat in mine, and I see your eyes flicker in the light. I feel your heart beat in mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Music Community Podcast. My name is Dan Drumstone and I'm here with fellow hosts Doc Bizzle and Random Girl Singing. And we have our special guest, Mr. Protostar. Hey. Welcome, man. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. You?
Proto is a music producer here on Twitch and professionally IRL. And it's going to be really cool to kind of talk about his story, his journey into where he is now. Because, you know, we've had a lot of musicians here on the show in a sense that, you know, we perform guitars or drums or pianos and vocals and stuff. But Proto is a producer, so he makes all kinds of stuff musically. And his latest thing was featured on Rocket League, which was really cool. And he's done stuff with Monster Cat and all kinds of stuff. So we're going to dive into that. But where did your journey start with music?
I mean,
way back
probably when I was a lot younger. Like I started with probably like guitar, or obviously everyone starts with a recorder, like when they're younger in school. But I mean, like, you know, properly with a guitar, like in year 4 or something. I think I remember like we had like a church group or something in school where like, you know, everyone had to like choose something, and I tried learning guitar, and then I stopped for a while, and then I re-picked it back up in like year 7.
Yeah.
And around that time, I think I was made to teach, not teach, learn piano. It would be funny if I was made to teach piano at that age, but I was made to learn piano, and I learned for about 2 years. I wish I stayed on with that, because that would be super useful now, but I wasn't really that into it.
Yeah.
But because at the time I was discovering like a lot of rock and metal, and then so I started, you know, learning how to play songs myself by my ear, like having the songs out and figuring that out on guitar, you know, getting interested in getting into bands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, from that, in school I just did music stuff, like, you know, did the like I took music at GCSE. So GCSE in England is like kind of like high school level stuff. And then you have after that, which is A level, then I took music tech there, as well as I did maths and physics. So music tech was my first kind of foray into actual like music production and getting interested into electronic music, because before then I didn't listen to any electronic music. Like I remember like the days when I got showed like dubstep track. I can remember which tracks it was. There was a track called Zed's Dead Eyes on Fire remix.
Yes.
That's a really good, that was like one of the first ones, and some Flux Pavilion songs. Obviously probably some Skrillex as well, but yeah, like the things that I really loved about those tracks is that they had like real rock influence, so that kind of eased me into it. And then from then on, like I just, you know, got really hooked into it and just started trying to make stuff in my spare time outside of music tech in school, and then it kind of just like turned into an obsession.
Yeah, for sure. I do remember the first time I heard dubstep too. I was teaching, and one of my students came in and was like, "Hey, have you heard of dubstep?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? Some like dumb kid. You don't know what you're talking about." And then he played it. It was a Skrillex song, and I remember being like, holy goodness, this is crazy. At first, I'm like, this sounds like Transformers like falling downstairs. Like the first time you hear it, right? And then it like, I started hearing all the percussive elements and the different sounds, and you know, it was something that no one had ever done before sonically, you know, as far as electronic music goes. So I was really impressed, and I was hooked after that. As a drummer, to play along with that stuff, it's like one of the funnest things, because it is so rhythmic and it's so percussive. It's cool.
I think like my want to produce also came out of frustration of early bands that I was in and stuff. Like I didn't have as much creative control, or like, you know, like the things that I wanted to do, I always wanted to like, you know, make sure everything was done correctly. So as a producer, you get that real nitty gritty control of like every single element. So like, you know, you get to do the drums, like the bass and everything, like you get to do all of that, and it's all done by you. So like, I guess like you have to be a kind of control freak to like, you know, want to be a producer, like want to be able to do every part and learn how to do every part.
When you first got started, what software were you learning on? Like, what were they teaching on when you first started?
So, I mean, back in GCSE, when I did regular music, there was this program called, I think it was called, was it Traction? It was like you can look it up. It's like some really janky old software. And that was like my first ever introduction. And then I got introduced into Cubase, like for recording like guitars and live stuff. And then when I went into A level, then they taught us Reason, which is what I use now. They taught us on Reason 4, all synthesis stuff, like kind of you know, digital stuff. And we were taught Cubase for recording live stuff. So like, you know, we had a drum room that we had like really nice mics set up with like SM57s and stuff, really nice kit. So we learned how to do that with Cubase and with Reason, because Reason didn't have the ability to record audio like onto the sequencer back then. So we did all the synthesis stuff in Reason. But now Reason is my main DAW of choice. So I'm kind of glad that I stuck with that. And now I get the great ability to actually work with the people who make Reason and stuff, and like work closely with them, which is, you know, if I told myself back in the day when I was learning how to use it that I'd be working with the company, now I probably wouldn't believe myself, but you know, here we are.
How did that happen? I mean, I'd never seen your Twitter account before. You've got like 10,000 followers, Twitter verified. You're doing all kinds of great stuff. You're very young. I'm just wondering, how did this journey was it just you always doing your thing and just happening to meet people? Or, I mean, how did these connections occur?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, if you want to make connections as an artist or something, you just have to be genuine and want to meet people for the sake of meeting people. If you're just going to go out and meet people just to get connections and just to better yourself, like, you know, further yourself in the industry, while that could work if you have like a manager behind you or something, where like, if you're a person, having the actual connection is a lot better. Because then through that genuine like mutual interest and like, wanting to help each other, you'll get further. So, I mean, back in the day, I started off like very small, as everyone does, obviously.
Mhm.
I did like a Sonic remix, like of Mystic Cave Zone from Sonic 2. And I put that out on, a friend of mine hooked me up with a label called Adaptive Records, or I think it's Adaptive. And they're in Australia, and they were like this big glitch hop label. And glitch hop back then was taking off quite well.
Yeah.
Glitch hop is like a subgenre that's like 110 BPM. It's kind of very swingy, like very funky. And they released it for free. And that got me, because they did it with a like gate on Facebook. So they had to like the page to download it. And that got me around 4,000 followers in about a week on Facebook, which was
Nice,
insane.
dude.
That's like probably one of the best growths I've had. But Facebook is kind of dead now, so it doesn't really matter. But that really got me kickstarted and got some interest, like from even people like Xylent, who I'm like really decent friends with now. Like he noticed me back then and downloaded the track and stuff. And then from then, I got introduced to some people at Monster Cat through their gaming channel. Actually, like I actually started off doing stuff on their gaming channel, and I knew people through that. So then I submitted stuff through them. Like once it got rejected back then because it wasn't really that good. But I just kept on working on stuff. And then one day I ended up just talking to one of the people there called Going Quantum. His name's John. I ended up talking to him one night on Facebook chat until like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning, just chatting about projects and stuff. And I showed him a song which was now to be known as Scorpion Pit. I showed him like a work in progress of it, and he wanted to sign it back then, like on the spot. He said, I can't remember exactly what he said. He said something like, "Oh, I really want this tune," and then I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll finish it." And then that's how I got introduced with Monster Cat, and that's how I kind of started that career, like with like Monster Cat and actual labels.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Let's talk platforms. What are your favorite platforms for sharing your music and finding new listeners? And what are your favorite platforms for just marketing yourself as an artist?
Well, I think nowadays Spotify is really getting like up there with like the kind of the platform to be on for not only like self-sustaining, sustaining yourself like in terms of income and stuff, but also like new like listeners. And like, for example, playlist is a big thing on Spotify. So to get in a playlist, like an editorial playlist, like by Spotify or by maybe even some community playlists that have big followings is a huge thing. It's like, it's like the number one drive that people, whenever they release a track, they'll just keep trying to get stuff on playlists. In terms of like, because SoundCloud was pretty good, but that's been dying off a lot because SoundCloud themselves have been making some funny decisions and they're not really, listening to the community much. Like they don't even have two-factor authentication yet in 2018, which doesn't make sense. But in terms of like marketing, like yourself as like a brand, I think the two strongest things are probably Twitter and Instagram. Instagram is insanely good. Yeah. Even if you have because I only have, for example, like I think around 2,500 followers on Instagram because I slept on Instagram. I didn't really ever use it, but I started to pick it up now. And even with like 2,500 followers, I would get like, maybe 500, 600 likes or whatever on a video or picture. And that's an insane ratio. I can't even get that on Twitter where I have 16K or however many thousand I have on Twitter. Yeah. It's an insane ratio. So if you're looking for like a good place to kind of like, market yourself, then Instagram or Twitter is definitely, I think, best. YouTube can be great as well, but I haven't really cracked YouTube myself. Like I know a few friends who really know their way around like uploading stuff and doing stuff on YouTube there.
Yeah. Now, when did Twitch enter the equation for you? Did you do gaming beforehand? Well, like.
Yeah, I mean, I had a Twitch account for a while. Let me see. I'm going to type in chat, see when I made it. I'm just going to okay, so when did I make it? 2012. So I've had it for a while.
Okay.
I think back then I didn't really stream much. I don't know if I definitely made it when I had like my alias, because back then the name I had was, I think it was like the official Protostar or something, but it got changed. But I think I might have done like one or two little streams or something, because back then I was working on streams a lot with my friend back, this guy called Doran Court. He used to stream a lot. And I used to like help him out with his stream. So I think I probably would have streamed a bit then when I was interested in it, but nothing too serious. And then about maybe 3 years ago, I started streaming properly, like, maybe having a bit of more of a schedule and stuff.
Right.
I think I've been partnered for around 2.5 years. So I think like a couple months leading up to that, I really like kicked it into gear. I did like 3 streams a week with a schedule. I did some gaming streams. I have done gaming streams like ever since I've had a Twitch account, but nothing like consistent. Like I said, whenever I feel like it, because gaming streams are very different to me than music streams.
Yeah.
At least like my audience like really cares about the music streams a lot more as well.
Nice.
So it's fun to do those.
Did
Can we talk about your audience? Can we talk about your format, your show? How does a typical Protostar stream go?
Well, usually I will start off the stream with production. So I will like produce the track, or I will work on something that I've been working on. So this is usually something that I'm going to release, like for example, like the Rocket League track or my EP that I'm working on. And I'll do that for maybe 2 hours, maybe a bit longer. Sometimes if I really feel the creativity going, I'll just like prolong or like postpone the feedback. And then after that, I'll do another 2 hours of feedback where I then get viewer submissions of songs where they'll raffle and whatnot. They'll send in music. Then I will play it on stream with like, frequency analyzers and vector scopes and stuff on screen so they can see what I'm talking about, and they can also feedback with me. And then I will give them kind of like in-depth kind of criticisms, and not even just like not even just like criticism about the songwriting itself, like in terms of like if from like a producer standpoint, I know what could work in like a club setting, or like what could work in the kind of club genre as a whole, and give advice towards like okay, this song might not work so well in the club environment. If you change this, then DJs might be wanting to pick it up more and play it. But, stuff like that.
Or even like mixing and that sort of thing too.
Yeah.
That's very cool of you to offer that. With you having a song on Rocket League, or is it going to be, or is it already?
No, it's already on. It's been on for a few months. Yeah.
Man, that's very cool. Do you also play Rocket League?
Yeah, not so much lately, but I definitely have. I think I have like 150 hours in it or something. So I did play it. I do play it a bit.
How weird was it when you're just kicking along between menus and all of a sudden your song comes on?
You can never get used to that when you're in game and like you're about to score a goal and your song just comes on in the in-game radio. It's very strange. But it's really cool. I do enjoy that. Yeah, it's also really awesome to have a flag in the game as well, which was. That was not like a thing that I even knew about that until like a few weeks before it was coming out. I got a message saying can you keep a secret, and I was like yeah, and they said all right, send me your logo because something's happening, and I was like oh, okay.
That is cool, man.
Yeah,
congratulations on that. I'm gonna have to hop on Rocket League later today. What's the name of the song that's on there?
It's called New Horizons.
New Horizons.
Yeah,
I'm terrible at that game. I'm like so bad at that game.
That's definitely one of those games you have to sink a lot of hours into.
Yeah. Now, where you are now musically, do you enjoy writing, producing, or like engineering? Like, what is like? Because when you wear that producer hat, there's many things that go into that, especially nowadays when people say a producer back in the day was just someone who would kind of direct and do stuff, but a producer now, it's like you got to know your audio, you got to know everything pretty much. But what do you prefer to work with as far as creation nowadays?
I usually like to separate the sessions that I do into different things. So for example, sound design wise, I'll usually separate that into like separate sessions that I do just like, sitting, just making sounds, not necessarily in the context of a song, just making, for example, like a bass patch or a bass wav, then I can use later.
Yeah.
In terms of like actually producing, the way that I go about it, I definitely like nowadays, I definitely have more fun with the actual kind of songwriting / like, structure part than like, because I used to really love like doing a lot of nitty gritty sound design and really getting into that. Nowadays, it's feeling a bit more tedious, or just that because it takes a bit to mess about. A lot of sound design is just messing about with, tactics and tricks that you already know, but you want to experiment with new tricks.
Yeah.
But I usually leave that to its own kind of session, and I definitely have more fun nowadays, like doing the structure and the actual arrangement of the song. Mix down usually comes during the song. There is like a part, like usually I'll produce and mix as I go along, and then at the end I will have this big kind of mix down session for a few days or a week or so, where I will mix it down. I will A/B with other professionally done tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do my own self masters to see if I can like get that kind of close, and then it will be sent off to mastering. And then when it's sent off to mastering, then we'll have a back and forth saying, okay, I didn't realize that this element of the song was coming out too much in the master, so I'll dip it in the mix down, send you another pre-master, and they'll update it. And it's a big back and forth. And it's at the end of the day, it's like a game of when you want to give up. Mix downs. You just have to give up at some point and just be like, okay, I'm done. And I could get this better if I spent way more time, but I'm probably going to lose my sanity before I finish. So I just want to get this done, because you end up hating a track by the end of it anyway. when you produce, I think this like new track, this drum and bass track, I've already spent around 50 hours in it so far, and I'm just about halfway done. So definitely can get a bit of a grind.
Do you do like your sound design in Reason, or do you do like outboard stuff? Or
I just do everything in Reason.
Okay.
I've always been in Reason, even before because they only introduced VST support recently. So VST is obviously is a kind of standard for like plugins, for music plugins. So they only just introduced that because they were always like a closed loop system, like kind of like an Apple kind of system where you'd have to go onto the store and get their own format of third-party plugins that were like approved. But now they've opened it up to VST, which has opened up like a whole new world for me in terms of like music production and stuff. But it's fun to be
favorite. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's fun to be limited because it can make you be more creative with what you got.
I think we were going to ask the same question, Doc.
Yeah. Favorite plugins?
Yeah, I definitely do. I do love the stock Reason stuff a lot because it got me to where I am, and you can still do a lot with it. One of my favorite synths is probably Maelstrom in Reason. It's just it's a grain table synthesizer, which is a mixture between a granular synthesizer and a wavetable. It would be probably too complicated to go over the specifics of what they do, but that's pretty cool. Serum is obviously pretty cool, like Serum by Exfer. In terms of like drums and stuff, I absolutely love Addictive drums too.
Yeah,
I think Dan, you would appreciate the drums in like I don't know if you listened to the that summer drum and bass song I sent earlier. But those drums, like those drums in the old intro and stuff, are done with Addictive drums, and they sound pretty real.
I actually use Addictive drums, and what I love about them is it's not like an $800 sample library. It's actually a pretty affordable program that comes.
Well, you choose what you want basically. You buy it in kits, so you actually just like you buy whatever kind of sounds you want. And I just bought the XL edition, which came with like 6 or 5 kits, and I just absolutely love it. It's just great to have a proper drum library to work with. And in terms of effects, I mean, I there are some effects, like for example, what is it? Saturn. That's a very great distortion plugin. Who's it by?
That's not Waves.
It's.
I'm thinking, you know how like Waves has like
it's by the people who do Pro Q2. I forget. FabFilter, that's it. FabFilter.
Oh yeah.
FabFilter are great. They do some great plugins as well. So Saturn is a really fantastic.
What is like? Doesn't Waves like their bundles? They're called like Horizon and like Mercury. That's what I was
Waves.
Like.
I haven't got many Waves plugins at all. Like I haven't really, because everything that they do, I've got some stuff that will do it, and the Wave stuff's are really specific. So I mean, Waves are great for like doing like acoustic mixes and like band mix and stuff. But I mean, I know some people use them for electronic mix and stuff, but I just feel like it's a bit unnecessary for me. Where I've got a lot of stuff that I mean, they do it great, but I mean, I'm used to my own tools.
Yeah. So this is like a very high context conversation. Is this, does it take a certain kind of person? I guess in any stream it does, but does it take a certain kind of person to really be a fan of your stream? Are most of them also producers or musicians? What's your audience like?
I guess like you could probably split them into 2 kind of core like kind of types, because I do the production and then the music feedback. The production, really anyone can watch, but obviously it is a niche kind of thing to watch someone produce because it is a bit long-winded. And I mean, while I do, a lot of producers that do this on Twitch, they will talk while they're doing it, so that you kind of learn from them. Sometimes we will go into a bit of like a trance where we're like really focused, and we'll like go a bit quiet for a bit while we're doing something. But for the music feedback part, I guess, yes, most of them will be producers because most of them will be raffling to get their song listened to. But you can also just be like listening and enjoying, like hearing what people are sending in and learning a bit about what makes a track a track. You know, what kind of things could be improved. For example, if you are interested in getting into music production, it can give you a bit of an insight of what things make a track, for example, sound a bit more professional, sound a bit better mixed, have the arrangement and the structure a bit better to work, like for example in a club kind of environment. So I think in terms of streaming, yes, it can be a bit of a niche thing to watch for production and feedback, but I think anyone that's slightly interested in electronic music can watch it. Even if you're interested in other genres of producing music, watch like a production stream and learn a bit about, because skills are transferable in production. It doesn't have to be one technique for one thing.
Yeah, well, all music streams in general, in my opinion. Imagine if, like, way back when we all started, if we had the option to log in and have access to someone like you or like Doc and say, hey, how do you play, a C sharp major chord or whatever? Or, how did you get that sound? What delay are you using? Think of like how much trial and error we did when we were learning, but now to have access to say, hey, can you listen to this and tell me what's wrong or what I should do? Like, that's insane. Like it's so cool to have things like that at our fingertips now.
Yeah.
Well, let's just
back in the day,
I've never produced and I want to produce, but I don't have much money or whatever. What's like a recommended good, like intro level, maybe even free software that somebody can pick up decently easily and throw something together just for an introductory?
I got asked this like a week or so ago, and it's really hard to answer because most decent softwares are paid. There is one that I've heard of that I haven't really looked into much called Reaper, which is basically free. It's very cheap, but certain softwares will have light versions. For example, if you buy an interface or something, usually it will come with a light version of a software. Like, I think I've got 5 CDs around which have Ableton Light on them or something like that, that I've never used because I've just always used Reason. But I'm pretty sure most softwares will have like a smaller or like a more kind of toned down version where it won't have as many effects or instruments and stuff. And at the start, it's fine to just work with samples and stuff at the start. So all you really need to do is just, for example, like get Reason Light or Ableton Light or something like that, and then go to a site like Splice and sign up for Splice Sounds or something and just download some nice samples, because usually stock samples aren't really the best thing to work with, like in terms of drums and that kind of thing. But that's all you really need to start. And then just YouTube tutorials, streamers and stuff. YouTube tutorials was one of the main things that I learned from when I was starting, as well as obviously I was in school for learning music tech. But like when I wanted to actually dig deeper into the whole like kind of production side, I learned from a lot of music tutorials on YouTube.
Yeah. Well,
So
Steph, you sent some stuff that you've been working on, like your pre-recording stuff, and you're doing a really good job too with that stuff. Like,
well, I went to a high school for it. I started learning on Digital Performer back in the day. I don't know if people use Digital Performer anymore.
I remember that.
I'm just using GarageBand. I haven't even looked into what else can I add to GarageBand, or do I want to get a better software? So it is interesting to see you and your viewers weigh in on what they like to use.
Yeah, and going back on the whole like point about the stream and how kind of accessible it is for like people who don't produce and stuff, I kind of realized, there are also kind of funny parts during the stream where like, I will add my own kind of comedy or like kind of, funny parts into the stream during the feedback. Like that will make it, watchable for even people that don't produce. So that's usually fun. And in the stream, my viewers actually used to make quite a lot of meme songs where they would like get clips of the stream and they would arrange it into like a really funny format and make me have to listen to it on stream and react to it, which is always awesome. Funny.
I can't tell that your viewers are memers at all. Not at all.
Not at all.
See, when I first started learning multi-track production, I was using a Tascam 414, a little cassette that had 4 tracks. All it had was treble bass. It didn't have parametric EQ. You just put a cassette tape in it, and it would use both sides of the tape to get 4 tracks. And that was it. For reverb, I had a Alesis Quadriverb unit for reverb, and then a microphone and my keyboard. And so when I see people like crap on stuff like GarageBand and stuff like that, it's like, dudes, GarageBand.
no
If I
idea.
had GarageBand when I was 19, oh my gosh,
I'm pretty sure, like, you know, the album Genesis Cross,
Mhm.
that was done on GarageBand, I think.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
album was done
I wouldn't
on
be
it, I'm pretty
surprised.
sure.
There's
No.
just
So-
so much more you can do in the
You can
digital
do a lot.
world,
You can do a lot with GarageBand, even though it's you know, it's really trashed on, like, you could, like, it's not about the tools, it's about how you use them.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, like, there are some limitations that some software like GarageBand will like give you, but you can, you know, if the main part about songs is usually like the songwriting and like how
There you
the
go.
structure is. The production itself does help, especially in like electronic music, but for other genres it won't matter as much. You can get away with like a bit of a like a, you know, not as good mix, but yeah, it's more about your ears and how you train them than the tools themselves. If you know your way around the tools and you've learned via mistakes and production, because every time people ask me like what's the best way to learn, it's just make songs, put them out there, and then learn from your mistakes as you go on. And when you improve, you'll hear all these mistakes in your older songs, and then you can go back and be like, okay, this track didn't really have a really tight low end, so I need to improve that in future. This section sounded a bit too cluttered, so maybe I can focus on maybe making structure a bit cleaner in future songs. That's how you improve mostly,
Yeah.
just from, you know, doing stuff.
I just heard a funny story. You know the Bruno Mars song that he did, not 24K Magic, but Uptown Funk. There's he was recording, they were up all night. He flew into Tennessee, and you know, everyone thinks that I need the best microphone. Like I got to go out and buy this $5,000 Neumann so I can sound good. And the producer that they were interviewing was like, no, he came into the booth. We quick plugged in just a SM57. He sang that song in the booth with everyone around. You know, there's sounds, probably people moving. And he's like, I have to get on a plane in like an hour, so let's just do it. And he did it one take with a SM57. It won Grammys. It's like, it was the biggest song of like whatever year it was. But it's just funny because people do get hung up on like, I need to have this interface or this best thing. But in reality, like you said, it does help. Like it does make it just amplify what you're doing. But if what's going in is crap, those microphones aren't going to turn crap into rainbows. You know, it's just going to make your crap sound better. Yeah. So I wholeheartedly, if you're getting into it, you know, like Doc said, if all you do is have that cassette tape thing, if that's all you got, make that work. You know,
I don't think those exist anymore.
I don't know, but you know, like
I wish I could find one though. It'd be like,
no, I had a Tascam Porta 4. I think it was like a 4-track recorder with the cassette. You know, to buy the special tapes for it.
yeah.
I remember, you know, tracking over it and over and over and over again. I mean, that was all that we had when I was that age. That was accessible to, affordable to, you know, to a normal person. And now you can buy equipment. You know, you can buy an iMac or a MacBook, and it's got nonlinear video editing. You know, a digital workstation. It's just pretty cool.
Yeah, you could do stuff with your phone now, like in your iPad with high quality. Like I know Apogee makes great interfaces that you just plug into your phone. You can hook up any XLR mic, and that's it. It's better than what most people have, you know.
Yeah, I was going to echo too what Protostar said about you know, the light version of some of the software. The cool thing is, you know, if you just go look up, you know, Ableton Lite, it's like $100. But if you look at some of the Novation controllers, and you're going to need some sort of input device, some kind of little controller, either a little trigger pad or a little keyboard to do chords or something, right? You can get those sometimes, like the Novation ones are like $60, and it comes with Ableton Lite, comes with $100 software. So $60, $70, you know, you really can kind of get started. You know who's been making some stuff that I think people probably are not as aware of too? IK Multimedia owns iRig, all those little like mobile things, mobile music stuff for you know, for using with your iPhone and iPad and stuff like that. They've started making some stuff that works with Mac and PC as well. And they've even got this little keyboard. It's 49 keys, so it's not like a huge keyboard, but it's also an audio interface. It has a microphone input on the back and everything. It comes with software, so it's like a turnkey. Boom. Plug your mic in. You got the keyboard, got the software. So there's some really cool stuff like that out there, I think.
Yeah, there are a lot of audio interfaces that come with it as well. I think a lot of Focusrite, like kind of entry level things, come with software keys and stuff. I'm not sure if any more, but I definitely do remember, like, when I got my I got a keyboard, a MIDI keyboard, like a nice semi-weighted one that came with Ableton Lite or something. And there's definitely a good way to kind of get a controller and get a software package in one.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, definitely a good entry level thing.
That's very cool. It's exciting. Let's talk Twitch music for a second. So Trevor yesterday was the big Stream On thing, and he didn't win, but I did want to say something, that he might not have won officially, but he did win, in my opinion. The experience that he had, and what the judges were saying yesterday about him, it was just like, yes. Like what he did was pretty amazing. And all the community that were there, and just the whole time seeing hashtag 88-bit music, all that stuff, it was very, very, very encouraging. And we definitely made our mark, I think, as a community. And I don't know, I just wanted to say that we're very proud of you, Trevor. And you did win. You did win, my friend. And the community too.
This podcast, and you have no idea what's going on, new to Twitch music.
True.
There was a competition recently called Stream On, the first of its kind on Twitch, where they took 14 different streamers who did anything from creative, variety, gaming, music. And they had weekly challenges, and they really pushed these streamers to the limits to develop their content, to grow their audiences, to do all kinds of things. And there was a member of the music community who made it to the top 3, 88-bit music, Trevor, and he killed it. And not only did he kill it, but the entire Twitch music community rallied around him. It wasn't just his native community, but it just branched off to all these separate communities. And it really did make a massive splash with really increasing awareness about Twitch music. And also Trevor he made some incredible content. His production quality was fantastic. He really learned a lot of things and did a lot of things that pushed him out of his comfort zone that he'd never done before, but he just had to learn how to do it. And I think that is a theme of streaming in general, is if you don't know how to do something, well, you're just going to have to do it. Going back to Alex, I have to put down this song and move on to the next thing. Like, you can't sacrifice, good for perfect. You just have to continue to step forward and create new things. And I can't imagine the pressure that must have been in front of the whole Twitch community,
I think he carried it very well. And I want to go so far as to say thank you to the music community for rallying the way you did. A lot of people brought hosts, we all have a certain amount of sort of relational capital, right, with our individual communities. You can only ask for a big thing so many times in a week or in a month before your community's like, gosh, Doc is always hitting us up for something, right? So for any streamer to use that capital to say, hey, everybody, and do the everyone tag in Discord and say, everybody, let's go support this thing. Let's go do that. For any streamer to do that one time is a really big deal. For the community to have done that and revolved it kind of through different streams, and then some weeks everybody was on board for a certain thing. That's a whole lot. And so I want to say thank you, because you guys did that on behalf of the overall music community, which helps all of us. And is a very generous thing, I think, for anybody to do. To see so many people do that was inspiring to me, big time, to know that, when there's a big deal, no matter what it is, if there's a really important big deal, our community is strong enough to rally around each other in an unselfish way. So kudos to you guys. Thank you from me and from us to the entire music community.
Yeah. It was
very much a mindset, for sure.
Yeah.
Even Alex, you talking about giving feedback to your audience, and you were talking about the song swap. A bunch of Twitch musicians right now are swapping original music and covering each other's music for charity and for fun, but to also make a little money for charity. And Alex is in there helping people with their mixes and offering up his services to assist people. And I just feel like that is such a huge part of the community's mentality. And it's a huge part of the mentality overall that I see on Twitch. I think it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it was fun, like I said, to hear the judges talk about, what he's doing on Twitch, and, saying that they were so impressed with the music community and his stance on it. Wasn't just him. And I don't know, it was sad, yes, that he didn't win, but like I said, he really did win in the long run. I mean, to have that opportunity, and to represent the overall community the way he did a great job. So Trevor, we love you, and you did awesome. But yeah, we did want to talk about some low latency stuff too, which we don't have right now in chat. I'm sorry, we're terrible. But we
which news segment?
Yeah, but like I've noticed a big change with that since like they released it, and I love it. I think it's like it's just so cool. What do you guys think of it?
Are you using it, Doc?
What's that now?
Are you using it now? The low latency?
Yeah. Still using it in my channel. I haven't had enough complaints to make me want to turn it off. Even without using low latency, every once in a while somebody would get some buffering here and there.
Yeah.
So if I see a lot of complaints, then I may switch back. But for now, I'm loving it.
I haven't heard anything about buffering on my end.
I've had a few bits, not from me because I haven't tried it yet myself. But I mean, I've been watching a lot of people. I know it's like a couple streams. Like one stream had really bad buffering, but they were trying to stream at 1080 60 at like 4,500.
Oh yeah.
Bit rate.
Yeah.
So that's not good enough to stream at 1080 60. So it's probably more to do with that than low latency. So I think there might be a bit of issue, but it might just be a bit of an end user issue, like in turn, or like the person who's streaming. So
Yeah. If you
I'm really excited to test it.
I'm still running 720 at 30 frames a second. I don't think my stream looks blurry or grainy or bad. I think it's a nice sharp, it looks good on mobile. I mean, who cares if it's 1080 if you're going to watch it this small anyway? You know what I'm saying? So
I used to run 720 30 for a long time. I only recently upgraded to 1080 because I had to just make my screen a bit smaller to fit my new overlay. And so if people need to read stuff on my screen when I'm producing, it makes it a bit easier at 1080. But because I'm doing very static imagery, when I'm producing, not much is changing. The bitrate, I can, if I turn on variable bitrate, I can just sit around 400 kilobits, sometimes. So yeah, but I just stream at around 5K now.
See,
which is usually pretty decent.
great.
I'm I know it doesn't matter. I know deep down, I could probably do a 480, whatever, the smallest, whatever. I love the fact that if I can, I'm going to do it at 1080.
You're making me want to go back to 1080.
I am even audio wise, this, a new setup. I'm I could probably do 96K.
And why not?
Yeah, and I'm I love that kind of stuff. So I know it doesn't matter, but it's got to be a huge stress when they turn that on, on Twitch. This isn't something that they just said, oh, well, let's just add it here and put a button that was low latency onto their server. This has to be a huge strain, not strain, but it's got to be a big change on their end. So some of the buffering stuff that we're seeing it could be related to them just figuring out all the.
Yeah.
Not bugs, but just tweaking everything to make sure it can all keep up. But I love it. I think it's so cool. I don't know why someone would not use it. It's just.
I'm really glad that Mixer, and some of these other services are upping the game in so many ways to keep that competition.
Yeah. I noticed recently that Twitch actually, because Mixer had this thing called, I think it was called the Hype Zone or something like that, where I think it was in PUBG first, where you could go there and see who's in the top 10, constantly. It would refresh and put people who are in top 10 situations. And then Twitch has recently done that.
In the game
as well. Yeah. So or in Twitch, if you go to the directory, you can sort it by I want to watch people who have 25 people left in the game, or if they doing this in the game. So they've just recently added that. So it's really cool that Mixer and these companies are actually doing really well and upping the game to give some healthy competition, because competition just helps us it makes them want to better each other, but at the end of the day we just get benefits left and right.
Yeah. love it.
That's really cool. Is there like a way? I'm just trying to think like directory wise. I know like with games, stuff like that you could do. But let's say like music directory and discoverability, let's say, like what is there? I'm trying to think like we're obviously not like
You could,
like language relevance.
yeah.
I mean, there's a few sorting options, but I don't see anything truly creative on that. I mean, I think they have hit like the basics,
I think
Some people don't want to watch a stream in Russian.
yeah.
Okay.
I think in terms of discoverability, I think there's some legwork to be done with Twitch in terms of the music community, like making it a bit more visible, and especially the music production part, because we do not have a lot of visibility on the platform as music producers.
Yeah.
So having like a dedicated kind of, maybe even because at the start of the, like 2 years ago, we had to stream in music, and then they moved us over to creative, and creative was really nice for us at the start. And then they started changing the way that the creative formatting worked. Like they changed the way communities were done. That really kind of stumbled us. And then now we're moving back to music because like the visibility is better there. So ideally, I would personally love for them to have like a music production category, because I have one of those categories done for music production, but like having a pure music production category would be beautiful.
Yeah.
And like even having the ability in that to sort by what DAW someone's using, like if you want to look for someone in Ableton, Reason, what kind of genres, maybe like electronic music, if they're doing like rock or something, that would be really nice. I've heard that
good idea.
they might be doing some kind of launch for music like they did with Bob Ross, which would be interesting to see.
That would be so
increase the visibility in this kind of community.
Yeah, that would
be
cool.
really nice.
Like a hashtag system would be sort of neat for those tags, like Ableton, hashtag Reason, or
we used to have that, but I mean, it doesn't really work anymore.
Letting you sort in different types of music now is Mixer. Mixer has even more music subcategories. They have making music, music production, live. So they are already sort of like setting the tone there. And at Twitch, I feel like they just farmed that responsibility out to the user by creating communities. Because anybody can create a community. And I've never browsed communities. I don't know if you guys have, but I have.
The only community I've browsed really is like the music one. And that's it.
Well, one of the things that I like yesterday listening to the Stream On thing and the judges talk about, I know that Twitch, there's people in Twitch that the music community means a lot to them and they want to help us with discoverability, and they're thinking of ways to, like they're not just like they'll figure it out. Like I know that they want to help, and so any kind of ideas like that I think are huge because we got to help them too. Maybe it is it's not weird, but there's no like oh, just do this and then all our discoverability and all our problems will be fixed. Like there is no quick fix, but all these ideas I think are a big help, and I know that they are working on it and they do want the music community to grow. I got that sense big time yesterday from hearing those judges talk about what Trevor was doing. And like Steph, you mentioned it before we started. They said, their hope is that people can say quick, like name off 5 music streamers, even if they're gamers or not musicians. They go, oh yeah, music streamers, yeah, bam, 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 bam. Like that would be huge. I know we could do it in our own community, but you talk to people that watch Twitch for gaming, most of the people that come in are like, oh, there's music on Twitch. This is cool. I didn't know that.
I guess there is also like I don't know how much of a stigma there is anymore, but there used to be like a big community in the gaming community that really hated that there was non-gaming content, even like doing music stuff on Twitch. So I don't know how much that's dying down as of late, but I definitely feel like a lot of people still don't know that this stuff happens on Twitch. Like,
we're not IRL, so they like it better now. I feel like a lot of that angst has migrated to the IRL section, but you're absolutely right, because I did start when they first launched Creative, and I remember getting like raids with people following with names like Creative Hookers and a lot of stuff like nice gameplay and tons of like negative feedback when I first started. And then not less so when I was in the actual music category, but within the creative category, and perhaps because they marketed it so well and people knew about it. But IRL, that was also really well marketed and took off so fast. And I think people now, you know, they've got IRL talk shows, even social eating, creative, music. To me, it seems like
Social
if they're not
eating.
used to being already, they should be now.
What's social eating?
Watching people
that's
eat.
very large in Korea.
Ah.
Very large in Korean social media.
Sit
Just,
there
you know,
and smack
streaming
their
yourself
lips.
eating.
Huh.
The guidelines are very funny too for social eating. There's some guideline in it about like it shouldn't be like prepackaged junk food or something. I forget, but
Well,
and
even
it's also very great.
even
go ahead.
like with Bonsai Baby, when they were, you know, talking about like each streamer yesterday, they took the time to talk about how they felt about each streamer and were complimenting on what they were doing. Like Bonsai Baby, they brought up like, you know, Twitch themselves does see Twitch as way bigger than just gaming, and I know they're going that way in the future, and they want, you know, to grow and all that. So I was just really encouraged listening to it, not as a music streamer, but, you know, this is the platform that I like to do my stuff on, you know, and to know that they are trying to improve and make it bigger and better. I'm like, okay, cool. That's awesome. It's like working for a company that just is like, no, we're good. We got enough sales. We're good. We don't need to get any bigger. You know, it's nice to know that they are going to keep trying to better themselves as a company or the content that they have on there. I don't know. I was really encouraged yesterday when I was listening. I was stuck in my truck on the 101 freeway, like, but it was nice to listen to it.
Alex,
Yeah,
who are some of your favorite producers that are on Twitch? And
Yeah.
also, what do you think that Twitch as a whole could do to better support producers?
we have a pretty tight knit community actually. Like everyone, like at least in like our circle, we know like pretty much everyone together. Some of my favorites, like Flight. He's a great producer. He's also a Monster Cat as well. Xylent. He doesn't really stream as much lately, but when he does, like I absolutely love catching his streams. Some people like a friend Shroomhead one. He does the production as well. There's a lot of great people, and I've actually got a music production team, you know, like the Teams thing, and I've got quite a lot of people in there that are, you know, fantastic people, fantastic streamers. They know what they're talking about when it comes to music production. And I think in terms of like discoverability or like just helping us, I think definitely, like I said, I think a dedicated music production category would help like massively. And kind of, you know, at least giving that a bit of like a kind of a, you know, a spotlight as well. Because music, it was pushed quite a bit. Then, you know, nowadays music, the top channels, obviously, like, you know, radio channels and stuff like Monster Cat and stuff, which are basically just like, you know, kind of just channels to listen to. They're not really, I wouldn't really count them as like, you know, actual like streams, more as, you know, they're just a radio to kind of, like, if you want to go chat with some of the viewers. And then you have even some people that don't even do like music streaming in there sometimes, and it's like, okay, well, they're at the top of the category even though they're not doing music, so why?
Maybe they're just listening to it.
Yeah. But I definitely think, you know, doing things like a category would go a long way, because we don't even know where to go. Because I was streaming some music feedback a couple weeks ago, and Deadmau5 joined my stream. He was just like browsing through streams. And he was like, we were talking, I was saying about like, you know, why, like we were talking about the discoverability of like, you know, Twitch music, and, you know, the fact that he was also annoyed at the fact that it's really hard to know where to stream or find people, because we don't know if we should go in creative, we don't know if we should go in music, it doesn't make any sense. The whole community is split into two. There was actually a trick you could do recently, I don't know if they fixed it, where you could be streaming in the music game category and then set your community to music, so you'd appear both in creative and in the music thing. I don't know if it works still, but yeah, like
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does still. Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to say something about the whole, you know, we were saying about the kind of stigma of like people coming into streams and being like, oh, this isn't allowed. Like back when I started in 2012, there was multiple times I remember like mine and my friends' streams, like where people would come in and say, oh, you're going to get banned for streaming music on Twitch. This was when there was no categories other than games. I can't even remember what games we chose like to like stream under or whatever, but it was like proper like under the radar renegade stream, like, you know, not allowed. But
Like Super Mario 3.
Like retro.
That's
Well,
funny.
Shannon Nina, she's one that's been doing it for a very long time. I don't know if you know her, but she's a performer, singer. I'm not sure if she writes, but plays a lot of instruments and stuff. But she originally would play music in League of Legends. She would take like breaks, and I think her account got banned.
Yeah, it
I think
did.
she had been banned before because for playing music, which is so
Jeez.
funny.
We've come a long way.
Now we're just debating about where the heck should we stream music, because I want to stream music to a 40,000 person audience in IRL because technically I can get away with it and there's more people that know about IRL and might be curious in clicking on IRL. Or do I want to stream music in music because that best describes what I do? And I feel that, the viewers that go there are actually looking for musicians. I don't know. I'm also confused. I haven't streamed in creative in ages.
Yeah. I did try streaming IRL for a bit as well, but I think it wasn't big enough of a change to warrant it, like streaming there. And I think people who came from like music would stick around longer as well because they were specifically looking for that. Whereas, instead of just stumbling across the stream.
I think if we can keep the music game or category in the top 10, then we'll do great for browsing and have those quality viewers come in. As long as like when people go to click browse to browse categories, if we can keep it in those top 2 rows, we don't have to have 180,000 viewers like Fortnite. We don't have to have 80 or 50,000 or whatever like IRL. If we can have between 12 and 15,000 right now, we'll be in those top 2 rows. Wednesday, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but before I started streaming Wednesday morning, there was like 13,000 viewers in the music category, which put it up in the top middle. I doubled the number of new followers I got.
Well, I don't know exactly why, but Monster Cat usually does their podcasts on Wednesdays, and they get quite a lot of people there.
It may very well be, but it brought it up to the point where I got double the number of normal new followers that I get. 20% of my viewers were from Browse Page. When I went and looked at my stats, 20% of my viewers were Browse Page. It was a great day. I think I ended up with 15 new subscribers even. It was just like all of this new discovery simply because music, it didn't have to be as big as IRL. It was high enough on that first page. That's where I still so bad. I want to encourage people. Look, I know you can go do IRL, but please, I look and see 6 or 7 of our big hitters. And to me, a big hitter in the music category are people that are, have 150 to 500 viewers, concurrent. When I see 6 or 7 of them on my follow list, all in IRL, I'm like, guys, if all of you would just jump over to music would hop up 2 or 3 or 4 above all these other games. And it would be exposure for you and everybody else.
Yeah. I think that could be done with maybe like a kind of a meeting kind of thing, like in the Discord or whatever. We know where all the kind of major music streamers and stuff are, and like kind of have like a discussion about, like that exactly. Like, let's have a plan to try at least like maybe for like, a month or a few weeks or something to stream in this category and like see how it mutually benefits everyone and see how that can improve the community itself.
The problem is not everybody thinks like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie, I have been streaming in IRL. At least sometimes I forget to switch, but I always start in IRL because we always start talking. And depending on how things are going, I usually trust my mods to set the game. But yeah, I've let it go and stayed in IRL and sometimes with good results. But I do agree with you, Alex. I don't feel like it's like makes a significant difference. But there are folks that are supporting themselves primarily with Twitch. And some of those folks that are very heavy into that mentality, it does make logical sense. There's 40,000 people here. There's 5 to 10,000 people here. I'm going to go where the people are. And the thing that some of these folks are saying is, well, until music will be bigger one day, but until it is, I'm going to be in IRL. Well, at some point, you do have to be like, I am that person that's going to make it that one day. Somebody has to be the first dude to go up there, and sit and just make it happen. Yeah. But the problem is, if we don't all have that same mindset and you don't all get on, it is really every man for themselves at the end of the day. Yeah. When it comes to running your own channel. So I do understand it, but I do agree with you both very much. And I also agree, Alex, you're at a disadvantage as a producer. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I feel like the producers are at an advantage also not having a full cam. because you blend with those DJ streams being mixed in with production streams. You go to it and it's almost like it's easy to see, oh, that person's performing. Sometimes with the production, it's like, okay, this is all jumbled up with other things that are like, music. What do you call them when it shows like the waves and
like
stuff?
the
Visualizers.
DAW screen.
Yes.
Visualizers.
I feel like that puts producers at an advantage because it's not as catchy to the eye and it doesn't like quite stick out as much.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I hear you. That is a cool kind of thing, like to just say maybe get like a summit together or something and say, hey, can we just try something for like even a week, or like 2 weeks? Just say, hey, can everyone just, if you are doing anything related to music, just try streaming to music. If we all did that, I am really curious what would happen, like.
You can encourage people.
It'd be worth a shot, It'd be worth a shot.
We have
I definitely think, I remember, I don't know if they do it anymore, but in creative, they did that whole like billboard thing at the top where they would feature people. And that was really cool. Like that gave me a lot of growth as well. Because, especially with like Moss, he did like fantastic work within the like creative community.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know if that's a thing anymore. I don't think it is.
I don't think so. Yeah.
No, the featured thing. But that was really cool because they would feature like people who had like, 4 viewers, 5 viewers, as long as their content was decent. Like they would be featured, and that gave people a real kind of like exposure in that community because that was when Bob Ross was taking off and getting a lot of traction in that community as well. So that was definitely awesome.
Yeah. The current browse system has sort of reverted to the rich get richer, where the more you have, the more exposure you'll get, which means the more you'll get. You know what I mean? So in every category, it's that way in the category. It's that way on the overall landing page, unless you go in and say, I want to see things that are, unless you do some filtering. But like if you just land on the site, whatever category has the most gets top billing, and then whoever has the most viewers within a category gets top billing. There's not a chance for those lower streams, to get that rotation.
At least they're getting rid of that pulse system and stuff like that. Yeah.
I wonder.
They mentioned that they're going to get rid of it, so hopefully they're going to clean up the homepage and make it good again.
We could rant all day about the things that they choose to put out there and the things that they choose to take away, and how none of it seems to echo what broadcasters are actually saying. We really could talk about that all day.
I wonder though. This is just me thinking here, but like if we did kind of as a community, like if we did all decide to do the music thing, I know there are people at Twitch that love Twitch music and they're behind us 100% and they're fighting for us, like in meetings or whatever. But if we did get together, I think it would show the people that aren't even at Twitch, the maybe the higher ups or whatever, to pay more attention, to say, oh, okay, this is a bigger thing than we thought. Like, look, there's a lot more.
It might actually make them pay attention.
Yeah, and it could maybe speed up, I don't know, a process of some sort, or just help us out in the long run too. The more unified we are, and it is now that I'm thinking about it, it is weird, or we are all over the place, and it is kind of. Maybe someone says, oh, well, look, there's not that many people doing music, If I wasn't a musician and if I was a gamer, like we are kind of scattered. It would be kind of interesting to see what would happen if we all kind of bunched up and said,
it would be like if like, for example, half the Fortnite streamers were streaming in some category called like, Battle Royale or something, and like another like quarter would be streaming in something else, like in IRL for some reason, like. That's what it would be equivalent to almost, I
mean, non-gaming content is at a serious disadvantage because of all these split categories, and because creative, they really marketed creative so heavy. I mean, they had Adobe sponsoring creative. Adobe's not involved with creative anymore, like they were. And
I remember they rated me when I first started. I'm like, what? I'm like, Adobe.
At an even worse disadvantage because we have 3 options.
Yeah.
We have 3 places,
Yeah.
And I feel like it just should make sense. We should be, and the IRL guidelines say, if what you're doing can be better classified in an existing category, for instance, music or this or that, use that category. But staff are just kind of for people's benefit. I think they're not doing it to for a bad reason, but staff are not telling people, hey, go back over.
Yeah.
They're just letting people get away with it, kind of.
Yeah, I remember when the music category first became a thing, we were all streaming in there, and then after like a year or so, I remember someone, like one or two members of the staff, they were starting to move us, like the producers at least, and the people doing that into the creative. Like they're kind of pushing us over into that and saying that music is only for like DJs or radio style streams and that kind of thing. And then so we moved to creative, and then now we've all started a lot of us have started bleeding back over into music because it's not being really policed as much, and it just feels like more of a like sensible kind of category for us to be in, and there's just a bit more discoverability. Because when someone who doesn't have an idea of Twitch or know about the community goes onto Twitch, they're going to type music if they're looking for music, right? And they're going to see the category and they're going to be like, okay, that's where I want to go, rather than creative. Do
you know who Sam Pepper is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sam Pepper likes to go on Twitch now and find people to go hang out with, and I happen to be the lucky receiver of his audience one day. And I looked back at his past broadcast on YouTube, and that was exactly what he did. He's like, he was on Twitch. He goes, what's the music? Oh, okay. And he's like typing in, he searches for music, and it's like, well, I guess that is what you'd do. Where's the music?
Yeah.
If I were putting together any type of printed directory, I think any person with half a brain would realize I would look at everybody that does this stuff and I'd go, okay, we've got music. Now we've got live music. We've got music producers. We've got DJs. We've got, it just like, radio. Why in the world would you not do a directory that way? Here's music. Here's live performers. Here's producers.
That would be
it
great.
Can't be because, well, there's 100 possibilities. No, not really. Not really. Not within music, within what people do. You got people producing it, people spinning or doing, electronic DJ where it's just sort of, around the clock, and you got people performing.
Yeah.
And we know they can because they already did for creative.
Exactly.
They already ran into that issue with creative when you used to have to just scroll incessantly to try to differentiate between leatherworking and woodworking and painting and music. They were like, okay, we'll do the hashtag system. And that was fantastic to just go to that page and click on the hashtags. Then they took that away too. I'm not going to get into that. But we already know it's possible. And it would be cool, like Alex said, to have even a rotating thing, Let music be its own little sub-segment with all of its own bells and whistles and all of its own power and promotion,
I agree.
Yes.
Like a little sub-community.
Evil laugh.
Well, I'm about to start promoting Twitch music outside of Twitch. That's one of the things I think a lot of us, we see that there's millions of viewers on Twitch already. It's like, if we could just get them to know that we're here. But I think there's a lot of people out there that with just a little bit of learning curve explanation, they realize they could view live concerts and even make song requests and stuff like that are music lovers. I'm legit about to start my own personal campaign, not to push my channel, but to push Twitch music. Come check out Twitch music. Lurk while you work. You got to listen to something. You might as well listen to a live performer. That type of a campaign where it's just to try to push discovery for Twitch music in general. Hey, are you a producer? Are you interested in producing? Go check out these guys recording and producing. Like we said earlier, we have these tools now that we can learn from YouTube and Twitch that we didn't have when I was younger, and that's a gold mine. Well, we just got to let people know it's a gold mine and let them know it's here. A 14-year-old gamer who's watching his favorite gamer on Twitch is probably not going to be as interested in that. But there's a lot of 14, 15-year-olds out there with GarageBand or Reason or whatever that are trying to produce stuff that if they knew that this was even here.
Yeah.
So that's
the thing that I fear with, like, we were talking about like the music community with the sub communities, is that I think some of the people, like the kind of like the hard hitters and stuff, it would be even harder to get them to stream in those those communities, because it would be even more segmented, even though we would probably have more collective like people in those categories, and music would probably, if it was, for example, like the music category itself was like the hub, and then under that all the categories were included in that view account, so it would be much higher up in the directory. I feel like it would be harder, because unless there's proper policing of like genres and of like, for example, like, can't stream in IRL if you're doing stuff that isn't if you're doing stuff that is easily described by another category, that kind of thing would need to be like enforced properly for that one music category to take off properly. I feel that a lot of people would still be more inclined to stream in a genre, or sorry, a category like IRL, which has like 40,000 viewers, rather than going into like a less kind of visible one, but at the same time would be helping it get more visibility. So in return, it would be getting themselves more visibility by the fact of them being in the category.
Yeah.
So I definitely think there'd probably need to be some like changes, or like so at least like there would have to be some actual like kind of more stricter kind of like, you know, rules in IRL and those kind of those categories where you can do whatever.
Yeah. Whoop whoop. That's the sound of Twitch police. Whoop, whoop.
Right now, like I'm wondering, is there something that we could do? Like, are people using communities right now for genres or styles? Like, are singer-songwriters going in the singer-songwriter community? You know, are producers going in music production community? Is there music production
Personally,
community?
like the community thing for me isn't something that I think about, especially as a viewer when I log in. If I know about communities because I stream. The average viewer probably is like, a community.
But
what?
will it populate the search result if somebody types acoustic?
Oh,
and the acoustic community is what I'm wondering.
I don't know.
Does it at least help us there? You know, because I really don't think that. I don't know if I feel like communities was really a broadcaster feedback generated product. You know, I'm not sure about that, but and yeah, I use them because people say that it's supposed to help, but I don't browse them and I'm not sure how else they would benefit me. But if I typed in production, music production, and there was a music production community, I'm thinking it would show up in a search result.
Mm-hmm.
What I found is that viewers haven't so much, it's not been so much that they've searched for something, but if they're in a particular stream that they enjoy, like there's one that's family-friendly streamers. I used to be in family-friendly streamers community all the time before we started the Nakama community. And there would be people who were in a stream that they liked. And when you see those communities, they're hyperlinks, they're little tags, and they would click on it. And so there was a discoverability of, oh, I really like this person. They identify as a family-friendly streamer. I wonder who else does. And then I ended up with a lot of followers, a lot of my followers and viewers that are still viewers that have small children that constantly tell me, I love your channel because I can turn it on, I put it on the TV, and my 2-year-old or my 3-year-old, I don't have to worry about your channel. Like they can listen to you sing and play and be goofy and all that kind of stuff, and they just love it. So, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, that was why they found me, was because they had clicked on that family-friendly streamers. And so the same thing I think goes with music. If somebody finds a music streamer and then they see that and go, oh, there's a whole community, you know, click, and then boop, it pulls up whoever's live in that community at the time. So I think it's been more, at least for me, my personal benefit from it has been from that more than people searching family-friendly streamers community. I don't think anybody's necessarily searched that, but
I think like when I started producing on Twitch, I didn't even kind of grasp the fact that people could really discover you from inside Twitch. Like the main traffic for me was like through my socials that I'd grown myself. And I mean, to this day, that's still probably the biggest factor of like where I get my viewership. Like obviously new people discovering me through Twitch is still a thing, but because I do, you know, production is very kind of a niche thing to watch compared to like singing or like, you know, playing song requests and stuff, where any kind of person who even has an interest in music could just watch and get their favorite song requested. I definitely think it definitely needs some help with the discoverability aspect, because, you know, for me, I didn't even realize like that because it was no discoverability back then, even for when the categories were just being born or like just started. There was no real kind of people coming and saying, oh, I just was browsing and found your channel. It happens now, obviously, but it used to happen quite a lot, especially with the creative update, especially with like that billboard kind of, you know, thing at the top that showed a lot of like different people up there. So yeah, definitely echo with that.
I love talking about this stuff though. It's all like healthy, and it's only, you know, it's all.
Alex, what do you like about actually streaming? Like, what makes it most enjoyable for you?
I definitely think a lot of the time it's just like the interaction and the community that comes from it. I love like interacting with my community a lot, especially like in Discord, and like I often run like game nights and stuff in there and just have fun. But in terms of like the streaming part, it can be really interesting to see like instant feedback or like have, I love sharing my kind of creative process as well, because back when I was in school and when I was like learning how to produce and stuff, I was actually doing like YouTube tutorials myself, like teaching like how to do certain things, because that's how I learned. So I wanted to give back and like actually try it for myself. So Twitch is kind of like an outlet like that for me, where I don't have to spend like a long time preparing each video, because like preparing a tutorial video is quite hard. You have to spend a lot of time doing the music for it, then you have to kind of segment it into what you're going to talk about, and then do steps back to like undo it, and then you got to show it on camera and then write a script and talk about stuff. It's a lot of hassle, and I respect people who do that like massively. Like it's a big time grind. But Twitch for me, like it's really fun because I get to not only like show my process and stuff, but then I actually get to release the music that I do on Twitch professionally, like on albums and in Rocket League and stuff like that. I get to actually like use it in a professional sense and show like, hey, these are the show like the tips and tricks that I like. People can see the whole process of how I did something that ended up in a product like that. Yeah. Like in Rocket League, they can go ahead and see, okay, this is all the parts that happen to make that happen. Now, obviously, they can't really see the business side of it or like my connections and stuff like that, but the music part itself, they can see like the whole process and how it's changed. Like even after I stopped working on stream, because it was originally going to go on my EP, but I took it off to go on to the Rocket League thing. Then I changed the mix up and I changed the production up quite a bit before it came out to make it a bit more kind of, because it was a bit more of an abstract, kind of like a bit more of a rhythmically weird structure. So I changed that a bit to, obviously be a bit more accessible to kind of the mass market, because obviously it was going in a game. So I wanted to make sure it was a bit more accessible, and that Psionics liked it. But yeah, like it's really fun to be able to, especially like having people come up to you like a year or a couple like months later saying like, this bit of feedback you gave me or watching you do this is like really helped like improve my production or something. That's always like such a humbling and really like heartwarming thing to read, especially like from people that, because I do production lessons as well, like on Skype and stuff on Discord. So having those people and hearing them improve over like months or whatever of teaching them and like setting them off to go make stuff, and then when they come back, and it's really, really nice to hear like, okay, yeah, I can definitely hear you've worked on like this part of your production and this part, and giving them the kind of help and advice that I kind of wish that I had when I was starting production. And I had to search on YouTube.
Yeah. If I had a teacher tell me this a long time ago. He's like, I'm teaching you this because it's important. If you know a craft, whether it's music, art, whatever it is, building houses, tables, you have to share what you know with people. Like the reason, it goes so far when you share what you're good at or your knowledge, even if it's not a lot. But if you just say, hey, this is how I do this with people, it does really, really help.
Because there's some producers, and there's like, because a lot of them want to keep a lot of the knowledge like kind of hidden, and I can understand for example like some sound design techniques for their signature sounds that kind of makes sense because they want to keep it to themselves. But a lot of the time they're very like some producers can be a bit too cagey about like production elements and how to do this and that, when I think a lot of it might stem from the fact that they know that it's not that complicated, and it might make it look like right. they're not as good as they make it out to be.
The sauce,
it's not that hard. It's just a lot of the stuff is literally just practice and practice and practice.
It's when you
get to that level, or when you get to like a professional level, a lot of the stuff you don't even think about. Like when I'm producing, a lot of the time, for example, I always say like the number one tool in like a mix down is a high pass filter. I could probably make a semi decent mix down with a high pass filter and maybe like a reverb. And then I could probably make a really good mix. I wouldn't even be able to touch the EQ much. Like EQ, people will overproduce stuff. So overproduction is definitely like the number one hindrance in a bad mix. Like, people's early mix downs, they'll like EQ everything like crazily. They'll boost stuff way too high. They'll cut stuff that doesn't need to be cut. Yeah. And compression, they won't understand how that works. Like compression was something it took me ages to understand when I was in music tech and I was learning in music tech, because my teacher didn't really explain it too well. But like that's like whenever I do like lessons and stuff, that's like the number one thing that I know how to teach extremely well because I know exactly how, how that I understood it when it finally clicked and I was like, oh, that's what it does. It's like those moments that really help you become like a good teacher and know how to like translate that kind of idea over to someone who doesn't understand as well.
Well, now I want to hire you for a lesson. I want to send you my stream mix and be like, all right,
my ears.
tear it apart. Help me.
One of the cool
my mixer and I see all my highs turned up.
A cool thing that I remember about compressors when I was learning. I remember I opened up. It was Pro Tools a long time ago. Like the old HD Pro Tools is like Pro Tools 8 or 6. I don't know. It was like forever. But the compressor had like a million options, right? And I was like playing around with it, trying to figure out. And this producer came in, older guy, really, really awesome. And he goes, come here. Don't, because, I was all over the place with it. And then I'd reset it and start over. And I just didn't understand what anything was doing. And he took me out. There was a LA2A, like an analog compressor, like from like everyone knows what it is, but it's like the compressor, right? It's just there's like 2 knobs, and he goes, sit down with this. I'm just gonna loop this song and play with it, and it's watch the things, watch what it's doing, and like the simplest. We do have all these options in production nowadays, but you're right. It comes down to just sometimes the simplest things, and that's it. Not overdoing it. Yeah,
I'm really a believer also in terms of like learning music production, that learning kind of like the physics of why things do certain things and why it works. Like, because I learned in A level, I did music, tech, physics, and maths, and because I have an engineering degree, so I really like care about that kind of stuff as well. Yeah. So whenever I like kind of teach that stuff, I'll go really like I'll try to not go too in depth, but I'll give the basics of, for example, like why phase cancellation happens, why phase issues happen in a mix, and why that's bad. For example, in the context of a club system, why, for example, you'd want the low end of your mix to generally be mono, like in the center, because you'd end up getting phase issues, and that can cause other issues and stuff like that. And the science of why audio, why you respond to certain frequencies. For example, there's a thing called the Fletcher-Munson curve, which makes your ear respond to different frequencies at different levels. So there's certain mix frequencies, like, so for example, 5K in a mix down, like 5 kilohertz is a very prominent frequency. So if a mix sounds very like kind of ear piercing and sharp, it's usually probably there's too much 5K going on. So that's where vocalists, like you can soften up their vocals in there. There's also stuff towards the low end, and learning like the physics of why something in audio happens or how to fix it definitely, I think, improves your like kind of perception to that issue tenfold. Like when you hear it, you'll know and you'll understand, okay, that's why it's happening. And I think that's definitely a huge part of it.
I have a really serious question that's totally related to this. Laurel or Yanni?
I saw that earlier in the chat. I saw it. Well, the actual recording says Laurel, but a lot of the height. So with voices, you perceive generally one frequency. You'll perceive the root note usually, but if you look at a spectrum, you'll see that a voice is made up of a lot of formants and a lot of frequencies. So you have a lot of harmonics and partials in that sequence, which makes up the sound of you. That's what your formant is. But because the sample it has a very prominent kind of frequency up in the top range, which sounds like it's saying Yanni. So if you listen on your phone speaker or something where the low end isn't as well pronounced, or you're listening on headphones, or even in different times of the day, if you like just wake up, you can hear the Yanni quite clearly because of your ear's perception to that high frequency more than the low end, or the phone speaker or whatever is not as good with bass response. Also, you can prime yourself to listen to it. If you know about audio priming, it's basically, there's some like phrases and words that you can hear. If you prime someone to like say, you're going to hear this word, and they listen to it, they'll hear that word, but then you can also prime them and say, you're going to hear this word, they'll hear that word completely different. There's like this one I saw on Twitter recently where it's this toy and it says brainstorm, but if you read another word and listen to it, it says something like, I can't remember, it just says something completely different. It's really, really trippy.
I haven't done it yet. I'm not going to lie. I haven't done it.
I thought it was the entire world playing a trick on me, personally.
Well, we're gonna kind of wrap it up. We've gone a little over, but it's all been like really, 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 really awesome talks. Really quick, I did see a question. What are you working on currently? Is there anything like in the future that's going to be coming out that you'd like to talk about before we wrap it
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, right now I'm working on a EP. It's a drum and bass EP. It's going to be like a 3-track with an intro and outro track, a whole seamless thing. So it's going to like track flow into each other,
Nice.
and it's going to be like a loopable thing. I'm going to try and make it so that like the intro and outro track will seamlessly loop together. So if you listen on it loop, it will kind of kind of merge together.
awesome.
And I'm also working on another single right now that's kind of similar vibe to the Rocket League track. So it's like a liquidy kind of summer drum and bass vibe with like brass instruments and vocals from Sam Tabor. He's like a fantastic YouTuber. He's like just really great. So that's going to be exciting. And yeah, those are some projects that I'm just trying to get out right now before the summertime. Really, I'm trying to aim for that.
Yeah. And where can people find you on the interwebs?
I'm usually on Twitter. Mainly, that's my main platform. So Twitter is Protostar_UK. Also, I guess Twitch is just /Protostar. I'm there every Saturday, usually streaming music production. And yeah, Twitter and Twitch are my most used. I guess I've got like Instagram, which as well, Protostar, because Protostar was taken, and and the Discord I use as well. My Discord community is great. So if you want to join, feel free. You can also get music feedback if you're a producer there from other people in the Discord. It's just discord.gg/Protostar.
And that's huge. Thank you for offering just
Yes.
help and advice. It really is a big deal, a huge deal.
You'll have to come back again so that you can tell us the story about ProDerp. And
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening and have a great week. Next week, I'm trying to think. Next week we have Seth on, right? The 25th, I think. Yeah, Seth from TV, I think, is next week. And then the Luck the following week. It's going to be a good couple weeks ahead, guys. We're very excited. But everyone have a good, awesome weekend. And chat, thank you for hanging out with us. It's been a pleasure.